Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. If you light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Getting born in the state of Mississippi. Papa was a copper and her mama was a hippie. Alabama, she would swing a hammer. Place I got paid when you break the panorama. She never knew that there was anything more than Paul. What in the world does your company take me for? Black bandana, sweet Louisiana, robbing on a bake in the state of Indiana. She's a runner, rebel and a stunner, on a merry way saying, baby, what you gonna? Looking down the barrel of a hot metal 45, just another way to survive. California, rest in peace. Simultaneous release. California, show your teeth. She's my priestess, I'm your priest, yeah, yeah. She's a lover, baby, and a fighter. Should've seen her coming when it got a little brighter. With a name like Danny, California, day was gonna come when I was gonna moan her. A little loaded, she was stealing another breath. I love my baby to death. California, rest in peace. Simultaneous release. California, show your teeth. She's my priestess, I'm your priest, yeah, yeah. Who knew the other side of me? Who knew what others died to prove? Too true to say goodbye to you. Too true to say. Which is the fate of the gifted and the mater? 1 for the now and 11 for the later. Never made it up to Minnesota. North Dakota man was a gunner for the quota. Down in the Badlands she was saving the best for last. It only hurts when I laugh. Gone too fast. California, rest in peace. Simultaneous release. California, show your teeth. She's my priestess, I'm your priest. Yeah, yeah. California, rest in peace. Simultaneous release. California, show your teeth. She's my priestess, I'm your priest. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Alright. Somebody's honey is crowding my icebox. Somebody's cold one is giving me chills. I guess I'll just close my eyes. Oh yeah, alright. It feels good inside. Lip on the telly, wrestle with Jimmy. Something is bubbling behind my back. Bottle is ready to blow. Your drug is a heartbreaker. Say it ain't so. My love is a life taker. I can confront you, I never could do that which might hurt you. Try and be cool. When I say this way, is a water slide away from me that takes you further every day. Ooh, so be cool. Say it ain't so. Your drug is a heartbreaker. Say it ain't so. My love is a life taker. Dear Daddy, I write you in spite of years of silence. You've cleaned up, found Jesus. Things are good, or so I hear. This bottle of Stevens awakens ancient feelings. Like father, stepfather, the sun is drowning in the flood. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, your drug is a heartbreaker. Say it ain't so. My love is a life taker. Say It Ain't So by Weezer. The mirror's image tells me it's home time, but I'm not finished, 'cause you're not by my side. And as I arrived, I thought I saw you leaving, carrying your shoes. Decided that once again I was just dreaming, bumping into you. Now it's 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls, and to my message you replied. Why'd you only call me when you're high? Why'd you only call me when you're high? Somewhere darker, I'm talking the same shy. I need a partner. Well, are you out tonight? It's harder and harder to get you to listen. Well, I get through the gears, incapable of making alright decisions and having bad ideas. Now it's 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls, and to my message you replied. Why'd you only call me when you're high? Why'd you only call me when you're high? I can see you here wondering where am I. It sort of feels like I'm running out of time. I haven't found all I was hoping to find. You said you gotta be up in the morning, gonna have an early night. Well, you're starting to bore me, baby. Why'd you only call me when you're high? Dance with me, make me sway like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close and sway me more like a flower bending in the breeze. Bend with me, sway with ease. When we dance, you have a way with me. Stay with me, sway with me. Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When we sway, I go weak. I can hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me thrill as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When we sway, I go weak. I can hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me thrill as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. When marimba rhythm starts to play, dance with me, make me sway like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more like a flower bending in the breeze. Bend with me, sway with ease. When we dance, you have a way with me. Stay with me, sway with me. When marimba starts to play, hold me close, make me sway like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more like a flower bending in the breeze. Bend with me, sway with ease. When we dance, you have a way with me. Stay with me, sway with me. I had a little fumble there. But I always forget how fast the tempo speeds up on that song, right? And there's like 100 renditions of it, to be fair. So, oof, all right. I felt like I got the, so in Baptist church in the South, they say, getting the devil out of you when you sing. I feel like I got the devil out of me. So I feel like that's a good time to start the stream. That song is a banger. Agreed. Now you want to play Rock Band? Oh, dude, don't get me started about ranting about Rock Band and any instrument game, honestly. Hello and welcome everybody to the 6 Pixels Under podcast. Let's hit the intro. That was my water bottle. Okay. Hello and welcome everybody to the 6 Pixels Under podcast. I am NS or Nerd Slayer, your host. I played a couple of songs to get my voice warmed up. Actually, it's funny, I woke up really early and then I took a nap, so I had to wake myself up. So if I look like super well rested, that's probably why. But yeah, no, I totally agree, MMORPG gal. And I'm actually going to go a step further to say that, like, things like Coke Music and Habbo Hotel also were helpful for me too. More so Coke Music, but like, it made me realize, like, because music, you know, copyright law and just law, trademark in general is like so like difficult and like litigious that it's just hard to get involved in that stuff. And for people wondering, why did GTA, or rather, why did Rock Band or Guitar Hero die? And you know, it's not simple, but it's just, it really does come down to the fact that they had issues with their licensing and they were losing licensing and they were not able to, like, you know, play certain songs, and then it was like paying all this music to play songs, and you know, suddenly all these rights holders started, charging way more money. So needless to say, it didn't become a sustainable business for the company behind those games. And I think that's why we don't see them anymore, which sucks because I love those games and you can't find those games unless you find those games. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't really get emulated, which kind of sucks. And I know that there's a couple of like free versions, but they're just not as good. And yeah, so Des is asking about Coke Music. Coke Music was basically like Coke's answer to Habbo Hotel and cashing in on the popularity there while also pushing their product. And so how it worked is that every you know, bit of Coke that you bought, no matter how it came to you, mostly I think in bottled versions, you got a code and you could enter that code into Coke Music and it would give you rare items. And so people that, it was kind of pay to win, right? Like a bunch of people were just like buying items or buying Cokes from the store and then, you know, getting items. And I had a bunch of stuff myself, not just from that, but just from, there was things like racing, right? Like racing and little kind of like mini games and there, because it's called Coke Music, you might be wondering, how does music get involved? Well, the cool thing is it basically had like a mini DJ Hero thing going on where you could customize and create your own music and play it at clubs and stuff like that, which was really cool, you know? Like, so yeah, Coke Music was really unique and interesting, but you know, it was a game made to sell product at the end of it. Was Clone Hero as good as those other ones? Because I've seen a couple of guitars here for sale. I think I might go to a classic shop today to see if I can find any. Because I've been wanting a guitar, you know, so I can play. I'd like the whole setup, to be honest, but I'll settle. On today's podcast, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that I finished the Halo Infinite script. And oh my god, guys, it's gonna be monstrous. I mean, we're talking like over 10,000 words, like I think about 11,000. So this is the biggest by far. And the truth is that I didn't hold back. I didn't hold back on 343, I didn't hold back on my story of Halo, and I didn't hold back on the story of Halo Infinite. And so I didn't want to. I felt like, you know, in the past, I've also noticed I've gotten into like a habit of kind of like shortening things a little bit too much. And, you know, making things longer, especially when it's an interesting story, it's just better for business. Like there's no debating that. So it's like, it's actually, it incites me to, or incentivizes me to dig deeper. And so I feel like, oh my god, this 343 Studios / Halo Infinite Death of a Game, it's the most comprehensive, it's the biggest we've ever had, and I honestly still feel kind of exhausted from it, and I completed it a full day ago. I'm still tired from it because I just like powered through 10,000 words in one day, which I don't recommend, by the way. But I mean, I can talk about that a little bit. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna like spoil the video. And by the way, shout out to Inchon DM who said hello and then dipped out in the stream because it couldn't stick by. But yeah. So the thing with 3-4. Sorry, why is my door opening? 1 second. So how is 343 not laid off yet concerning Halo? Alright, well, I'm gonna describe to you kind of like what often happens in the video game industry that nobody really talks about, and I've been thinking about making a video about this because it's it's kind of a topic that I feel like can get you hated, especially by developers. Which means it's one that I'm very interested in. No, I'm just kidding, but no, I just don't care about who's gonna hate me or like me for reasons that are just silly. But I think that this is actually a topic that I can dive into a little bit, even outside of this the stream, or rather the video that I'm gonna do. That should be coming out in probably another like week or two. I think about a week. But it's this. It's that in video game development, it's a very early industry still to this day. That's hard for people to understand because they're like, yeah, but Pong came out in like the 80s or some shit. It's like, yeah, but like video games actually like moved very slowly for a long time. Like even Atari lasted a while. You know what I mean? And so like you have like games that had color. It took them a while to get involved in. Actually, I was thinking, let me start some background. so I can get into the groove myself. Can I find, like, you know what, I'm gonna look up here we go. Alright, just gonna play a little bit of tunes in the back. Yeah, but anyway, so how it happens with video games is that, and video game development in general, is because it's such an early industry, the people that oftentimes got involved in the very beginning were the most passionate, and it's because the industry essentially didn't exist, so they had to create it. And so what that did is it created like a bunch of legendary names that people can recognize for their first or couple of first games that were just like revolutionary. In many cases though, because of just how art, history, and technology works though, many of these same developers don't keep making games. And I'm not saying it's just because they can't. I'm saying it's a combination of those things. Sometimes they don't want to, sometimes they can't because, you know, they don't have the right resources, they don't have a team to work with anymore. You kind of get what I'm saying. Like, the point is that it's never as simple as just being like, well, how come they're not just linear getting better? Not everyone at every job in the world gets better. It's just a true fact. And so sometimes you can have some legacy developers that are very talented, but they're hard to get to. So that means that like these developers are the ones that are running all the companies already, right? Like, you know, like these are all the ones, the guys that you already know. The names you probably can already recognize. And if you can't recognize them, you can go look at their credit sheet and see that they've already made a lot of these games. These developers, like, I don't have any bone to pick with any of these developers, right? Like, these are great legendary developers. They've all put their time in, and they're still putting their time in. There's also some developers that come completely new to the scene, right? They miss a lot of the historical aspects of things. And in many cases, that doesn't really matter because actually many things are streamlined now. It's much easier to do game development. So in some cases, it's kind of like to compare it to the architect industry, which I watched change with my own eyes. Not that I was in it, but I was in an adjacent industry called estimating. And I saw people that could draw amazingly, had incredible architect skills, suddenly have to learn how to be digital. And it changed everything for them. So like, you have to think that for some of these artists, suddenly the games go from 2D to 3D. They got nothing anymore. And so many people might jump off. That's why you're not seeing all, like, crap tons of talent still in the game industry, is that maybe not all of them are still in it. Maybe some of them have stuck with the same companies, or some of them are, you know, kind of doing their own little thing on a smaller, like, scale. Now, to talk about, like, the education for the newer developers, the problem is that if you don't have this old guard teaching the new guard, then in many cases, the new guard has to go out of their own way to learn a lot of lessons that weren't already taught to them. And that's because whenever you go to school for game development, like programming, so on and so forth, even if it is video game centric, you're likely not really going to get the best video game curriculum. And what I mean by that is that you need to actually play video games, guys. This is a #1 thing I've seen, maybe like top 5 thing I've seen. I should make a video about game development in this sense, like talking about what I've noticed from all of my studying is like, it's one of the biggest things where it's just people don't improve their skills. They do what's, you know, required of them. They go to school, they get their degree, they work in programming, they work in art, they work in writing, whatever it is in particular. But the problem is that they don't really play video games, and they don't play it with the mind of a developer. So they're not actually developing their brain for developing. You see what I'm saying? So when they get onto a job, they can be straight out of college, and you're like, oh man, this guy must know what he's doing. But again, to bring it back to my industry and construction, and how I learned this very quickly, even before I discovered it in video games, is that before I got hired onto one of the jobs I worked with in corporate, the guy told me that he hired a guy that had a college degree before me, and I didn't at the time. And I was like, yeah, how was it? And he like described everything to me. And it sounded like exactly whenever I trained a guy in estimating, because at the time I was a project manager, the same scenario happened to me, where I was teaching this guy. He had a master's degree. But he came from a generation before. And that's why I'm not going to be completely a dick to him, because he didn't know how to understand fucking computers, man. And I tried to teach the whole damn company, but it's just like this guy in particular, especially, it was like, you're more qualified than I am, but you're worse in the modern age. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why it's like, it's not just older developers are better, because sometimes look at like Game Freak and companies like that. Like sometimes older developers can kind of lag behind, and they look like they're lagging behind, and it's not good, right? But sometimes the problem is with those companies is when they bring new talent on, they guard a lot of their secrets and concepts and they don't teach them. So then the new guys come in and there's no actual direction or, you know, learning processes going on besides just failing. And it's why I think, sorry, in this day and age, some video game developers are so proud of their failures. It's because it's the only way they're actually learning. And that's really sad. Like, let me really lean into this for a second, guys. Like, when I work in construction, if I'm failing on job sites, that's actually a health hazard. Like, our job is to work in fire stop to prevent fires and passages of smoke. If we failed at an inspection, I mean, it's a serious thing. You see what I'm saying? So maybe I just have a different standard when it comes to like my work, and many video game people see it more as like, hey, you launch it when you launch it, sort of like my YouTube videos. I can understand it to a certain extent. The problem is that if you're only learning from failing games, then that means that you're gonna have to fail a lot to get the proper lessons you need to get. And I think that that's a big problem in the industry right now, is that same thing in MMO industry, so on and so forth, is that when education's an issue and people are not playing the games enough, you see developers look completely out of touch whenever they release their games and get destroyed. And sorry, but like New World is a perfect example of that. Because I walked the studios, I met developers there. And the first perspective I got was very much like, hey, these guys know what they're talking about. They're professionals. They're getting paid top dollar to work in essentially a, you know, person constructed expensive city. So like, that was kind of what I'm thinking the whole time, but in reality, that just wasn't the case. And, you know, it's not a matter of me being, like, mean or rude about it. It's more a matter of me drawing attention to the fact that, like, everyone's big, high-profile, you know, huge new engine MMO game is being run by a bunch of amateurs. Like, and amateurs in the purest context of online video games and virtual worlds. Now, to pull back for a second, they actually do have experiences. They have experiences. But they're not relevant, motherfuckers. It's something that it just drives me insane about the video game industry, especially in corporations, is that they still hire with literally 30-year-old processes, just like whenever I was working in cost estimation for corporations. Look, I'm just gonna be blunt. These corporations are fucking dumb, especially with how they hire people. They're not good at finding talent. They get lied to all the time, resumes trick them, and otherwise, they don't actually know how to look for the right kind of talent. They're just looking for talent. Oh, this guy's got a resume that says he worked on 5 games? Okay, that looks great. And that's exactly what New World consisted of. It's why I was fooled by whenever I walked around the studio and saw people doing work. Because I was like, it looks like everyone knows what they're doing. In reality, they did. They didn't know what they were doing in an online game context, and every decision they ever made was very present, or very prevalent of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that's the thing is that failing, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't pronounce your fucking name. Just said, there's nothing wrong with failing, right? But it's like, but if you're failing and the lesson learned is, well, we tried to make enough money and we didn't, damn, that sucked. It's like, you're not actually really learning anything. You're not learning anything in the context of an online world, a virtual world, or how to simulate emerging gameplay. And for people that want to hand wave me, you can, right? Because I get paid by people to teach them how to make fun games. So first off, I know that my opinion's valid in this particular realm, and I've also played games, you know, these online games in particular for 21 plus years, and like to extreme amounts of time. So I know what makes these games fun. And the truth is making them more like a world with the stipulations of whatever that world is the fun part, right? Like Digimon, when they go into the other fucking world and shit like .hack, and that's the part everyone loves about the anime. Overworld, right? Like, that's what everyone loves about the anime. That's the same thing in MMOs, is we need to make that the experience, is coming into the world, being a part of something else, and make that really feel like it's transporting you somewhere else. What's up with my Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis video? The comments are wild. I guess in what case? Like, there's people that are like, oh, you know, this game is amazing, but screw New Genesis. There's comments that are like, man, you know, screw this sponsored video, like this is like a shield. Not as many as before, but like there's a couple comments like that. There's also comments that are like, man, I guess you're gonna be making the death of a game on Phantasy Star, which literally happens on every video. What's up, ZB? So I'm kind of used to that, which is probably why I'm not trying to play dumb. I'm like, which one are you talking about? But this is a problem, guys, and the only way to improve this is to literally learn and actually improve. improve as developers. So the reason why I'm going to be harsh on 343 is that they had over a decade to perfect something that they had all of the help in the world to help them with, and they still couldn't do it. Like, why the hell would I feel sorry for you? Why would I feel sorry for you? Like, what the heck? It's like when a super team in fucking sports, like, I'm supposed to feel sorry that Miami Heat lost their first fucking season? Like, how the fuck would I care, dude? Like, it's a super team, and who cares if it doesn't work? You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's how I view that stuff. Did I see a crane collapse in New York this week? No, I did not. I'll be honest, I don't know what it would constitute to make a crane collapse, because I understand integrities of buildings, but I've never thought about the structural integrity of a fucking crane, but that sounds crazy. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, Des, is that oftentimes people are treating the gaming industry like the tech industry, and it's being hired for in that way too, or for in that way too. So they're getting a team that they're thinking like, why can't we do something like, like New World's like, how come we couldn't come up with anything? And it's like, you hired leaders who have no fucking clue what an online world and an online game is. I know because I talked to them. And like, what's funny is no one has ever reached out for me there after I said it, except people who agreed with me. Isn't that funny how that works? Like, the only people who ever reached out to me from New World's team after were people that were telling me that, nah, I agree with you, bro. And it's because because if you know what you're looking for and you walk around as an expert amongst other people who don't know what they're talking about, it's very clear to you that they don't know what they're talking about, right? And that's when I get I don't mind being an asshole if it's being that person who's telling everyone, hey, let's pull this rug back and look at all this shit underneath this. Like, we need to fucking deal with this. You know what I'm saying? Because look at MMOs. Like, how come they busted so quickly? Well, they had a blockbuster happen, which is great for the industry. But blockbusters always carry with them a bad thing too. Blockbusters bring with them the curse of a blockbuster. Every industry that's art has this concept, which is that suddenly you get discovered and everyone knows about you in your one song, and that's all everyone can think about is you in that one song. So it's like being discovered in like the modern internet age. It's so crazy, but like that's what was happening with these online worlds and games back then, is they were quick to jump in on the blockbuster craze and hype, but they didn't actually create worlds. They were just making games. And if you're trying to make it actually fully compelling for like a subscription or for long-term progression systems, you have to essentially make a world. And for people, trying to push back against that, ironically, the parts that make everyone's favorite games, shooters, MOBAs, you name it, more multiplayer centric and last longer are MMO progression systems. Leveling, friends list, clan systems, grinding, boss systems, PvE, PvP, like that shit came from online PvP or online RPGs, guys. So it's like, that's one thing that's funny is people will be quick to be like, yeah, but MMOs busted and they bursted and they're gone. And it's like, they didn't go anywhere. They're still everywhere in every game that you're seeing right now. But they're just not the massive parts. The massive parts that there are the worldly parts, those parts are missing. And that's why it feels like for many people looking for that sense of exploration or wonder or being in another world or feeling transported somewhere else or wanting to roleplay, there's not a whole lot of games out there that can satisfy that for you right now. And it's because, again, people have to start viewing MMOs either from the player perspective, then to the developer perspective, but obviously the developers who are making the game have to look at it that way. But yeah, well, the case with 343 is just that, like, I've never seen a more protected company, and I've also simultaneously never seen essentially less to show for it, the least to show for it. And that's why I don't really feel bad about talking about them in the way that I did. And to be clear, like, to give you guys an idea of how I talk about everything, I go into exact detail about why decisions that they were making are dumb and don't make sense, and the times that they lied and were not genuine about stuff. I also talk about every single high-profile developer leaving their company and what I thought of them and their impact. that's something that people don't like to do because they feel like, oh, you're just like, you know, people work here, they make mistakes, and it's like, no, dude, like, nobody's actually holding these people accountable. So I guess I'll do that in some minor sort of way. And a great example of this is like people like Frank O'Connor. You know what I'm saying? People like Josh Holmes. These dudes skated the fuck out after failing Halo 4 and nobody said a goddamn word. And it's the weirdest thing fucking ever, bro. Like, Josh Holmes went on to do Midwinter Entertainment, who did Scavengers, which failed epically. And the only thing that they've done so far is publish. So it's like, literally, here's a track record of one of their big developers who would not take accountability while at 343, after 343 failing epically again. People could say, oh, wow, you're so mean. It's like, no, dude, that matters, bro. Here was his moment to do something different and better, and he still failed. So it just goes to show you that it's like, this is 343's original talent. This is the guys that were making the games. Like, what do they have to show for other than what they've already failed at? They don't have anything new since then. Like, let's you know, go to like someone else, like Bonnie Ross. Bonnie Ross even admitted that she was shocked when Microsoft just gave her the keys to all of Halo. Like, the fucking head of 343 was even confused that they did it. What the fuck? Think of it, she was like, I mean, alright. She probably was like, because what she did is she basically pitched Star Wars but Halo. Hey, I want to have this whole universe, da 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 da. And they were like, okay. And it's just like, the fuck? They didn't have a single original developer from Halo except for one. And here's the story about that one developer who stuck by. This part is always fucking cringe to me. His name's Frank O'Connor, and he wasn't actually a developer at Bungie. He was a community writer, so he was a community manager. Well, when he stayed on 343, they viewed him as the only guy from Bungie that stayed. So he got promoted, I guess, to director. His first fucking job, hired at 343. Halo 4, he was a director on it. He was also a director on every subsequent Halo. There's never been any fucking reckoning or accountability about this guy in particular. But not only though has he been a director on these failed games, and he doesn't take accountability for them, he calls them successes constantly and doesn't really even acknowledge that they fail. He's also, Frank, for example, was the guy that talks about, well, to expand the Halo universe, all you gotta do is just look at it. It's like porn. You know when you see it. That's the guy, bro. Like, it's bizarre to me that they let this guy become a leader off of nothing, basically. A director of development with no development experience. What the fuck, dude? Like, I'm still shocked about that. And you guys will be in the story too as you start to see. Yeah, check this out. Like, for people that think that, oh, he doesn't sound half bad, it's like, this is literally what he says about Halo 4. Deemed the worst Halo by everyone who plays Halo, by the way. Halo 4 is funny because over the years its reception's gotten better. No, it hasn't. It's actually gotten worse. As people have become used to its intricacies and nuance. No, they rejected all of them, which is why the subsequent Halos not only didn't really use any of them, they changed the majority of them. But we saw an outright rejection of some of its multiplayer stuff, which we fixed in content updates after the fact. No, they didn't. They just added different modes that they could have just added in the very beginning of the game. You know, Halo 4 was really successful. It actually sold less than Halo Reach. It also almost sold less than Halo 5 Guardians, which was on an older console at the time. The game, you know, essentially, it sold less than, considerably less than Halo 3. It only barely sold more than Halo 2. And so, like, even if you go off of numbers alone, it's still fucking not genuine. And he says, but the thing that rocked us a bit was our multiplayer dropped off quicker than we would have liked. So that's, even when he can admit that there's a fault, he has to, like, barely admit that there's a fault. You know, the players dropped off a bit. It was the worst drop off in Halo history. Like, I don't trust you, Frank, bro. Like, nothing public you've ever, like, done or produced for us has ever made me feel any different about you. And that's why, like, I feel so justified in making these videos. It's that developers like that deserve to get talked about, which is that, how the fuck do they keep getting keys to the best franchise in the world? Like, This is not like little league shit. This is like you're handling LeBron James and you got like some fucking Taibo instructor, you know what I'm saying, who's like teaching LeBron James how to be fit, and you're just like, what the fuck are we doing, bro? Like, what the... What's the song in the background? It's like Chill Hop from Zelda. But yeah, it's like, and then like you guys want to hear what one of the biggest, you know, pieces of the puzzle of Halo 2 and Halo 3's multiplayer says regarding Halo 4? Halo 4's stuff was a challenging project from Max Overman of Certain Affinity, but it's always hard when the tools and technology are in development simultaneously. While you're trying to be in production, and co-development is always challenging. We had a lot of history with the Halo franchise and we understood a lot of its core fundamentals, and we were working with a group that was mostly, especially at a decision making level, rather, fairly new to Halo. And they wanted to do things the way that they wanted to do things. And we had very little voice in the discussion. We just kind of had to go with the flow. And you can imagine that that's challenging, because Halo is kind of like our baby. Yeah, so... you see what I'm saying? Like, that's the guy that is behind the Halo 2 and Halo 3 matchmaking and progression system, like the whole nine, like the Xbox Live shit, like all of that great stuff that everyone loves. That's the guy behind that, who's a legend of Halo, who's saying that on Halo 4, Frank and Josh are full of shit, that they didn't know what they were talking about. So, but he can't say that directly. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why it's so fun to piece all of this stuff together, to see that, like, dude, it's not just me talking about Halo 4. It's like you start talking about Halo 5, you realize that the monetization problems that people complained about with Halo Infinite were all there already. Even worse. So you really can predict Halo Infinite failing. It sounds so fucked, but it's true. By just observing their first two games and how they handled them. Even when they got modicums of success, they literally were celebrating like it was the World Championships. And that's the, again, wow, we sold so many copies, but we had the biggest drop-off in Halo history, but don't mention that part. It's like, why are you celebrating that? Like, any respectable Halo developer would look at that as a failure, because you shouldn't have been able to create a Halo that has way less population and more of a burnout rate than the previous ones. You see what I'm saying? And so, and then we go further and further. I was told about Microsoft influence was constant on all of the project, and it was heavy. The majority of the people that were actually helping left early on, which I'll talk about. I got contacted by multiple developers who previously worked there, including some temp workers who were not happy and not very complimentary of how things went down. So, yeah, like, thanks, I appreciate that, ZB. I'll have to look into it, Joshua Taylor. Yeah, I mean, if Halo 4 was your first Halo, I could see that it would have a different experience, or you would have a different experience, but the thing about Halo 4 is, like, I can't even, like, front, like, it has by far the worst sound in all of Halo history. And Halo, despite what people might think, is a game about sound. And it's a point that I'm going to make in Halo Infinite's video, is that sound, presentation, artscape, landscape, you know, soundscape, all of that stuff matters in Halo. People don't think it does because they're just like, it's just a shooter, bro. You just shoot aliens and shit. It's like, actually, all the other stuff being amazing is what made Bungie so famous. Like, why do you think they went on to do all of that same shit in Destiny that everyone was celebrating? It's like, because that's what they were good at. They were actually good at that stuff. They were good at creating all of this, like, extra alien stuff. And so when 343 Studios gets the reins, the reason why Halo 4 is hated so much is not just because of the sound design. I picked on the easiest target that nobody can really debate. Like, you just listen to it, it sounds like somebody's playing with a fucking plastic gun. And I play all of the Halos on MCC. So unfortunately, I'm well aware. But the problem with Halo 4 too is it's the first time that 343 starts to basically change the plot. And you can thank Josh and his team of writers for this, but in their eyes, because they weren't necessarily originally Halo fans, they wanted to kind of like create a different sort of story and narrative that was, you know, a different way to view everything. So they started building Master Chief as like this like PTSD survivor, which doesn't make sense because he's a super soldier who basically just goes like, yeah, giving him PTSD, it's not humanizing him. It's actually just like, it kind of kills his character. It kills who he is as a character. And I have PTSD. I literally have it, and I'm telling you, like, Master Chief having it, I'm sorry, doesn't really make any fucking sense for the whole plotline and like everything. If you're trying to humanize him, you'd have to do so much backwards work that we'd actually have to do prequels to go back and actually break down who he is in the beginning of all of it. What 343 did is start at where they left off and then tried to explain what the fuck the story of Master Chief is when they didn't even know what the story was. Because they weren't the original writers. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why 343 Studios and Halo has been such a clown fiesta, is that people think it's just, oh, well, the game's this, that. It's like, no, they've actually made errors in regarding to the lore. And I know this stuff because one of my friends is like the biggest Halo fan I know. He's read all the books, bro. And he tells me, yeah, I have CPTSD. They gave him PTSD in the subsequent Halos. In fact, it's a whole part of him and Cortana's relationship, is that she's a robot, so she's deteriorating, but Master Chief is supposedly deteriorating because he's like getting weary because of the effects of war having on him, shit like that. Anyway, hard for me to really explain it all because, again, I've experienced having complex post-traumatic stress disorder, so that means that I experienced it as a child. I've never been in war. I wasn't a fucking Spartan or whatever else, but if you're raised for that and you're genetically altered and engineered for that, the chances that you would actually end up getting PTSD, it just doesn't make any sense in the context of a sci-fi. You see what I'm saying? Meaning you're literally selecting people that you would think that would not have traumatic experiences. You're selecting people that essentially would actually find a way to get a positive experience from all of that. Like, there's so many factors that behaviorally and psychologically at hand there that it ends up being, it just feels like they try to do too much without doing it the right way. And I think the right way to do it, if they wanted to do that, make him human, is do a prequel. Not just Reach, where, you know, that was still Bungie, but like go back and actually talk about what Master Chief was like before he had to become Master Chief. Because just having fucking post-traumatic stress doesn't mean, you know, define your character. It's like he's still able to do the things that he does because of he had to cope with it, right? So they messed that up because they don't understand PTSD. And they didn't understand Master Chief. The other problem is, and this is actually people's biggest problem, is that they took the Forerunners, which are supposed to be an ancient human race, right? An ancient human race who had very advanced technology but got wiped out. And they turned them into fucking robots, bro. Why? Why did they... Why? Why did they turn them into robots, bro? Bungie themselves, even before that, stated, like, they weren't supposed to be robots, bro. They were supposed to be an ancient human race. And, like, that would have been so much cooler. 343's brilliant idea was just to turn them into fucking robots, which made them the most lifeless enemy that you've ever killed in the game. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and Hans, to be clear, I'm a martial artist and I have CPTSD. I can knock someone out clean, no problems, even if I have trauma. That being said, that's because I have trauma that I'm so obsessed with it and focused on it and so on and so forth. Chief never struck me as that kind of guy. Does that make sense? Like, he's not using it as his fuel like I had to. He's literally like, he's just being himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that doesn't strike me as like that's his thing. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't strike me as that. It feels more of like that's them after the fact trying to fill in the blanks. And again, I get that, but if you were gonna do that, you gotta do prequels, you gotta go back. And I think that, like, look at what BioWare has done. They love going back and people make fun of them for it, but they're pretty good at it. That they'll do like flashbacks and shit where suddenly you're like waking up and you're like, what the hell? Like, this character, like, oh, I've seen this guy before. They could have done some stuff like that. And even cinematics, they could have just showed us more of his character. Hey Chief, what's up? Like, you know, like when he's like a little kid, or I don't know, they're like talking to him when he first gets enlisted or some shit, right? Because these are super soldiers, they're selected at birth, right? So any PTSD that you would sense from them is so deeply ingrained in their character that you wouldn't really even sense it, unless they would just talk about it and be like, actually, for me, this is how I feel, which, you know, most of them aren't gonna do. Is there a way to make the filter stop catching swears? You mean like in chat? I don't see on my end, it doesn't show anything getting censored, but have people been getting censored? Oh yeah, Sneed, I forgot to respond to you, buddy. By the way, Titus is my favorite character in Final Fantasy history. At me, bros. But people not understanding it's a paid video, that's just always a thing, though. Like, to be clear, like, when people watch your content, they aren't watching it knowing you as a human being. Like, that's just being honest. It's not me being edgy and, my job is so hard. It's like, no, like, literally, like, you watch my video, you don't see my face 99% of the time. You don't know where I'm from. You don't know my story. You don't know, like, how have I gotten here? You know what I'm saying? So, like, really, I don't take the initial impressions people have of me very seriously or very personally. The problem is that people will often post on their first impressions, and that's always weird to me. Like, and what I mean is that I'll post in response to somebody, and they'll tell me like, oh yeah, I didn't actually know that, my bad. Like, and it's like, oh, because you don't actually know me. So you're just like posting whatever your first impression is of like the first thing that you learn from me from a video, which is you're gonna learn very little from me. And so that's what creates like the YouTube hysteria, if you will, where people are posting so much kind of random shit and shit that's not always helpful. And sometimes people talk about people posting hateful stuff. And like, for example, on the Phantasy Star Online video and other sponsored videos I have, everyone is always going to post the same sort of stuff. So it's nothing new for me, which it sounds like, you know, sad, because it sounds like I'm just like, I'm so, you know, used to it. But it's like, honestly, it's like pattern recognition is one thing I'm really good at. It's how I do my job and have always done my jobs, including martial arts, which is essentially a job for me. I can see that pattern coming. And, you know, it's not that hard to recognize it. So I was scrolling up to see if I missed anything other than C. But yeah, and so the pattern is always going to be, oh wow, I don't know if I could take this guy so seriously when he disclosed in the first minute and on screen and in the description that it was a sponsored video. He must be trying to sell me a sponsored video. Like, you know, yeah, like what am I gonna, you know, that's why I'm saying you get so used to recognizing the patterns that a lot of the patterns are basically people saying the same thing. So they'll say that, someone will say, oh wow, shilling on this video, or something to the effect of like, you're shilling, which is like, I'm getting paid to do a sponsored video. Literally the definition of shilling. I'm not sitting there being like, Phantasy Star, yeah, yeah, Phantasy Star, yeah, yeah, or something like cheerleading, but I am selling literally a product that they paid me to sell. And again, it's a hard thing for people to understand because they feel like, well, you're so opinionated, so like your other videos, like how come you don't just like, actually this game's gonna die tomorrow? And it's like, well, first off, I don't even know that necessarily, and even then, like, I have to make a living, which means that if I only ran my channel based off of people clicking on my channel, clicking on my videos and just kind of like dipping out, I wouldn't have a channel. And what that means is that I have to build a sustainable model, series, and audience. And my audience, you guys are, you know, you have expectations from me. Your expectations are that I'm going to keep making videos. So that means that based on your expectation of me, I have to keep doing sponsored videos because I don't make enough money otherwise. And I've always been honest about that. I've shown people how much money I've made. I've broken it down. I mean, I've always, since the beginning of my channel, including when I got my first 100K video, which was Star Wars Galaxies, I was always honest about that stuff. And it was because it was slightly, in a way, really, like, to be honest, like, to my advantage, to tell everyone, hey, I really am the underdog, the rebel that you're rooting for. Like, I tick every box of that. So it's like, root for me, I'm definitely gonna mix things up in the industry. You know that, because of who I am, because of what kind of content I do, because of the things that I'm interested in. So I feel like that was more important to me, is developing that persona and actual, you know, who I am, so people that watch my videos can really rely on me in that sense. And that's why I can get developers sending me messages saying, thank you, I love watching your videos, you did a great job on this game, I know this game, you missed this thing, that sort of thing, where it really makes me feel good because it's like, okay, professionals are looking at my work and saying, no, he's really breaking this down in a good way. And from the fan perspective, like from you guys, the players, it's everyone talking to me about everything else. It's the information, oh, this is interesting, oh, this is a great story, oh, this is sad, oh, this is like, makes me angry. I want to hear your emotions and what gets you excited about whatever videos and stories that I'm telling, because that's what's going to make you learn. Excitement is how the best teacher. So if I just sit here and I'm just like, and then games fail because they just try to be too big. Like, no one's gonna care. But if I tell you that with the story of City of Heroes, you know, and suddenly like the story of the publisher abandoning the game because it wasn't Eastern enough, like people actually start to say that, oh, okay, there's something bigger at play here, right? It's never just the game sucks, so it failed, which is what people used to say all the time when I was a kid, and it drove me insane because I played all of these games. So when people be like, this game sucked and that's why it failed, I'd be like that Arthur meme where I would just like clench my fist on the, because it's like, no, it's not that simple. And those games had great aspects about them. And even back then I was like that person like, no, these games were great, you know? So I don't have that same kind of emotional aspect in the same way that it was raw when I was young, but I still have that same desire to be like, no, I want to tell the story of these games because they matter, they're relevant, both in the context of this is interesting, this is cool, but also in the context of like, games have done this shit before. Let's learn from them, you know? In my case, having CPTSD and being a martial artist is not that coincidental, because basically I was forced to do martial arts as a kid and compete all of my childhood, so it probably contributed in some ways to me getting it. But that being said, that's why I mentioned that for me it's not like I can't go to the gym or I can't like defend myself because of my traumas. It's like actually it makes me even worse to be more quick to do that stuff because of my traumas. So it's why I talk to people on stream a lot about etiquette and being polite to people, and also recognizing the kind of people that you're talking to. To go back to the point that I was making about people forming such a short and quick opinion just from watching a video, it's that they don't actually care to get to know me. So for some people that watch that from the outside, they see me be mean to that person or just flippant or whatever, and they will get offended sometimes. And to talk about that person, the reason you're getting offended as well is also because you don't know me. Isn't that funny that it all comes back to like, and again, you could get offended by me and hate me and not watch my content, but I'm saying if you're gonna continuously watch my content, post comments and so on and so forth, engage with me, and you would think that you would like it in some sort of way, otherwise don't watch it. That's not like, don't watch me, but I mean seriously, like, you don't like me or my content, I don't want you to like torture yourself, you know what I'm saying, like to watch it or whatever. Like if you like it and maybe there's some things that you think I can improve on, you can tell me about that. But if you're basically only bits of advice you have to offer are the same thing that I'm already getting from thousands of other commenters, also posting their first comment for the first time without knowing me, you can kind of see how somebody who's actually reading all the comments, which I do and most YouTubers don't, just being honest, ask other YouTubers who are in the almost 400k plus range, they don't read their comments literally almost at all. I read almost all of my comments and respond to the majority of them, so if someone writes quality, I will respond to it. Just like if someone writes drivel, I will also usually respond on it, and usually my response is not going to be very nice, because again, like, you don't know me, you don't know my story, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know how much I've struggled, so like, for someone to try to make me feel bad because I took a sponsored video, you know, I quit my job in corporate to make videos. Like, you think I'm gonna be stressing about like the sponsored videos, you know, being the thing that I need to survive? You see what I'm saying? It's just like, it gets silly when you think about context and also perspective of what am I trying to accomplish. I'm trying to accomplish a career, making a living, but I'm also trying to accomplish making the industry better. So if it means that I have to get paid by so-and-so to then rob so-and-so, if you want to use that analogy, that's totally fine with me, right? And it's fine with them too. They signed the contract. It's fine with all of us. But as soon as Phantasy Star Online New Genesis dies, I'm going to make a video about it. It's not like they made me sign a contract that said, well, we gave you money before, so now we can never make a video about us again. It's like, no, that's the whole point, guy. I can still make a video about them. I won. Still make it out of a game. Nothing has changed about me or my series or my integrity. Other than taking money from someone because I need to make a living. And that's where it's like, the final thing I'll say on that too, because I don't like to get into money discussions too much, just because they're annoying for me, and also for pretty much everyone else, but the most annoying part about all of it is that I tried to do a community drive to making everything community funded, so I didn't even have to take any sponsored dollars. Again, this is on my channel. I did a Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, I did a Patreon for all of this. I wrote it all down there. I did not make even close enough to, or I didn't even make close to enough money that I needed to make. So needless to say, it basically made it to where I had to make videos for popularity's sake. And then later on, I started to take sponsors because I didn't want to make videos for popularity's sake only. So that's kind of where I've arrived now, is that I think it's the best of, you know, the situation at hand. Gotta take a couple of sponsored deals and sponsored ads so I can keep making the exact kind of content that I want to make. Do you think Battlefield 2042 has been revived like a bunch of YouTubers and commentators claim, or is it still dead like Halo Infinite still is in a lot of people's eyes? I mean, that's a hard question to answer, but like in the context of the series and what I stand by, yeah, I think it's a dead game. I mean, even like their more recent updates and more recent reviews are very negative. It's funny that the only thing that people can actually talk about is the player count, and it's because they made the game free on multiple different subscription processes or services. So it's like, all right, well, a bunch of people are playing it because it's essentially a free game offered to them. How long are they playing it for? What are the reviews and the receptions of it? They still haven't even been that good. And even when I read people that talk positively about it, it's basically like, well, it's not that bad. It's like, this is Battlefield as a franchise. This game was supposed to be revolutionary. If that's okay with you, then again, we just can't really talk to each other because we just have different views of what expectations are. That doesn't make any sense to me personally. Maybe it does to you. Have I ever seen image of Umaru or Maru? No, I haven't actually. One thing I had to learn is that my favorite YouTubers are not financially well compensated. Yeah, it's because, you know, even like when I was working corporate, I was making easily like, just even if like I have like decent months on YouTube, and I say decent, not like a great month because those just don't come that often, but like a decent month, I was still making less than I was making in corporate. So like, and when you can consider all the other things, my phone was paid for, my car gas was paid for, my internet was paid for, or at least supplemented. I had a bunch of other things, right, that were supplemented. I had benefits, so, you know, 401k, like insurance, like things that actually, like, you know what I'm saying? So, needless to say, I don't have any of that now. But the truth is that I was willing to give all of it away because I believe in this shit. And that's why I can do it. That's why I can do 10,000 words in one day, because it's just like, you know what? I've spent so much time around these games and involved in computers that it's just like, I feel like this is both a great way for me to make a living, but also give back all of my long hours and observations. In my case, I started martial arts as a form to treat my trauma. Awesome. But obviously just be careful, because like anytime anyone ever talks to me about like martial arts and trauma, I'm very honest with them, which is that if you have literally traumatic experiences, understand this, that you're going into something that's literally going to potentially trigger you. And like that's, you know, you got to be careful about that. And I think for people that don't actually have those problems, they feel that same kind of feeling where they're scared to get triggered. That makes sense, without even necessarily having triggers, but they're scared of that vulnerability of not being able to stop whatever situation. It's a big reason why people are so emotional about PvP in general. I love bringing these comparisons up because they make, the only people that they ever make uncomfortable are people that get uncomfortable about it, basically, which is that in the real, you know, world, combat and the concept of actually training yourself for it takes, you know, dedication, it takes practice, it takes discipline. It's actually not super easy to find people who just want to hurt people. Like that's actually not a normal thing that most people have. So you actually have to develop people in many cases, and so like whatever art they're doing and whatever they're practicing can develop that. So what I'm saying is if you go in with the wrong headspace, if somebody's not properly like teaching you or knows what your issues are, like if you don't tell them that you have these kinds of issues, you might have bad experiences and that could end up making your entire experience worse. And like that's not me trying to like make it like shit on you, like no, it's totally admirable that you're doing it. I'm just saying also like understand that there's also the negative part too, that if you're not careful, those aspects can be harmful to people. Like for example, I heard a story one time of somebody who literally had a full-on breakdown, cried on the mats, you know what I'm saying, and they were totally fine, but they had issues, you know what I'm saying, and they were on the mats and something happened and they just freaked out. And like regular people can do that, so like someone with issues can do that especially. In my case, the reason why I made the distinction is not to belittle you, to be clear. clear, but it's because I don't have that kind of like thing happen to me, because martial arts is essentially like another personality for me. It's like another brain. It's like my video game brain is one, my martial art brain is another, or they're pretty related in a lot of cases. They both like patterns and winning and, you know, having a good time, but at the end of the day, like it feels like a pretty distinctive personality, which is actually very CPTSD specifically for people that are not aware of it. It's very closely related to kind of having multiple personalities, but not necessarily. They're more like different ways that you approach situations that feel unique from each other, so they feel like another unique identity. But not quite like the borderline personality or bipolar stuff, but has feelings that are close to that. Why do you read all the comments? It seems like a mental drain. Well, here's the thing, like, I love when people ask me this question and talk about this stuff with me, because I think that like people will get a better understanding of me as a person. Is that I wade into the shit. That's just who I am. I've always done that. Like, I'm a person that wades into whatever garbage is going on. And part of it's just because it's how I was raised, right? I had to go through a lot of garbage, so I'm used to going through garbage. Now, that's not a good reason to like allow yourself to get like, for example, like someone talk bad about you or something. Oh, I'm just used to it. It's okay. So it's not that I'm like going through and I'm just like, you know what, this is all fine. No, the thing for me is that discourse is the most important thing in humanity. For people that think that I'm pedantic or like to argue too much or I'm meanie or whatever, that's why I don't care. It's because it's actually discourse is the thing I value the most. So it's a part of why people hate me, is the part that literally is me as a person and my personality. It's why I always kind of chuckle, because I'm like, people are like, oh, you're so mad. And it's like, I mean, do I look mad like right now? Like, you guys have seen guys on stream attack me. Did I ever look like I was mad? No, because it's exciting for me. I actually like it. I think it's fun to be confrontational with like fun, stupid topics and so on and so forth. That's enjoyable for me because I grew up on the forums on the internet. So I was constantly testing myself and no, that's what this means and what this means, and so that became a bit of my identity in a sense, but it really helped me develop as a martial artist and a person because it made me not afraid to go try things out and suck at something. And that's something that I kept with me ever since, so I'm not afraid to suck at something, just like I'm not afraid to try something. And I think that that's helpful, but yeah, with discourse means so much to me, because to me, if we can't talk with each other, even if there's a slight disagreement, then humanity has failed itself. like literally, like, think about that for a second. If you and I meet each other and we just start banging each other over the head with rocks, I mean, we basically just regressed like 3,000 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that can be an answer to things sometimes, violence, right? But like, it is very primitive, and we shouldn't probably rely on it so much. So that's why I think discourse and being able to talk to people matters so much, because what you'll find is that sometimes people don't always hate you. They might just not know who you are, or have a different perspective, or treat people differently in those kinds of contexts. So for example, some of my best friends on the Discord and on my channel were all people that came in and had a lot to say. And like you could imagine, it's because they were offering a lot of value. So it's like great, it'd be like, okay, well, these guys are talking about such interesting things. But also I've made friends with people who push back and say, actually, I like this, or I don't like this thing. And that is helpful because it makes me look at other perspectives and realize, okay, well, I can't just view it this one way, right? And so to talk about like the quality of YouTube comments, are they very good? The truth is no. But the truth is also, I can tell you very clearly, I know what my audience wants. I know what my audience likes, and I know what kind of content my audience generally will respond to. So that's helpful because I read them so much. It's also helpful in the sense that people develop more of a personal relationship with me, I think, in some ways. And then the other thing, the truth of the matter is too, and you know, I've always been honest about this part, and this is why, again, my name is literally Nerdslayer. Like, it cracks me up when people are always like, why is your name Nerdslayer? You seem like you're just like the nice, rational detective guy. It's like, because if you say some stupid shit and you don't back off of it, I'm gonna fucking crush you in chat. Like, that's just who I am. I've always been that person. And I expect everyone to crush my ass too, bro. Just like yesterday in Discord, I was saying something about, I thought that Tesla was not as big of a piece of a puzzle of Musk's fortune as his SpaceX stuff. Well, maybe 10 years ago, that hasn't been the case for ages now. Now Tesla's way more so part of his evaluation of wealth. And so I admitted, like, you're right, Maghorn. Like, I want him to be able to go through that process and be able to educate me, because it is education. I literally learned, and now I'm like, okay, now I know that, like, there's some weird shit going on with Tesla, right, in their evaluations. They don't make any fucking sense, but anyway, another topic altogether, but you get what I'm saying. So, I think that's the part that people think works only one way. Is like, yeah, you mentioned empathy, but people think that empathy is only one way. So it's like, they think that if they reach out to somebody with no empathy, that they should get empathy in return. And the sad truth is that a lot of Americans think this way, and Westerners in general, to be not too mean to Americans, because of capitalism. And I'm not gonna be here, capitalism is bad. It's the best of a bad system, all right? That being said, it does offer some pretty stupid shit like that, which is that people feel like if I pay money, I should basically get anything I want. And it's like, well, no, you shouldn't, actually. It's like on Reddit recently, someone in the BJJ section was talking about how if I pay my coach, then I should just be able to show up just to roll. And I was like, bro, if you were my student, I wouldn't let you train because that's not safe. And not even learn the rules of my fucking gym and then expect that I have to let you roll because you pay me? Like, what the did you understand how slippery that logic is? Like how many directions we could go with it? We could go to prostitution. You know what I'm saying? It gets really weird really quickly when you say that like money is the thing that lets you get whatever you want from somebody. It's like, no, it actually isn't. Money is what you get, the service that you wanted to buy. And if it's not the service that you wanted, guess what? You don't buy it anymore, or you don't work with that person anymore. That's how it works, right? So that shit will always make me laugh. By the way, I can't really see the memes, Booty Tank. Let me check the other section. Let me see them all. I don't think it lets me see it. Yeah, it wouldn't let me see it. The face green smiling. I'm kind of curious how that looks. But yeah, like they think that like, oh, okay, that means I paid for it, so it's good. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, what the fuck? And so you might be wondering, well, then how does that apply to you? People don't even pay for your videos. Why the heck would they think that? Guys, that's the poisonous ideology part of it. It's one thing to be a toxic customer and capitalist customer. It's another thing to have this weird, like, entitlement when you don't even pay my bills. That's why it gets a little bit weird for me, because it's like, you know, I'm not even asking for checks from everyone individually or some shit. No, I'm talking about like, do you really support my channel? Do you post my videos? Do you like my videos? Do you comment on my videos? Do you share my videos? There's other ways than just giving me money. But if you don't do any of those, you don't give me any money, and you're posting comments thinking that A, I would either take your most likely crappy advice seriously, or think that you are as equal as my other viewers who are doing all of that stuff, or some of it. It's just, the truth of the matter is no. And that's where the part of on the YouTube comments that people don't really understand is they look at me and sometimes the way that I'll comment sometimes, and they think like, how could this possibly be helpful for you? Like, for example, Des and Limpos have said that to me before. And the thing is like, does it really help me in any like particular like knowledge-based way? Like, no. Does it enrich my channel per se? No, actually. In fact, I probably shouldn't even like be honest with people about that stuff, right? That's actually better for business if I'm just not honest about it. But the truth is I like to be honest about it because I actually want people to know that that actually is who I am as a person. That's part of it, is that I actually am that person. If you give me some crap that says that, wow, there's a lot of things wrong in this video, the most common thing I'll see that someone's negative about, but they'll never post what the actual wrong things are. I always make fun of those people because there's so many wrong things, we can't even list fucking one of them. You typed one sentence, but you can't type two sentences. You see what I'm saying? Like the level of like absurdity, like stupidity here that I have to deal with, where it's just like, okay, Mr. Genius, big brain me over the 30 minutes I made this video and the 9,000 words I did in one sentence how I didn't do it right. Like, so for me, the enjoyment part comes in there. And I'm not learning any lessons, guys. Just like they're probably barely learning any lessons themselves. But I like it. I like shitting on idiots. And I think I always will. Yeah. And I'm proud to say that, honestly. And I don't think I will ever change that as my part of my character. Because I don't have to. Like, I still think that I do enough things that are useful and helpful in the game industry on YouTube, and I think I do enough to connect and be close to my audience. Past a point, if you're not even gonna watch my videos or engage with me in the discourse like sense, then me being insulting to you or memeing you, I'm sorry, but I don't care. You're not part of whatever team is, you know, so to say. That's where I'll think that it gets a bit funny in the comments, is that like I've seen people say like, oh, you should see how Nerd responds in the comments. It's like, guys, I've been responding that way since I made my channel. This channel is technically more than 7 years old. I only started YouTube like 5 years ago, meaning doing all of this. Before that, I made another YouTube that was like from 2007. So I've been doing YouTube easily for, 14 years, basically. And I grew up on the internet, including forums, including, you know, whatever was available, IRC. So my view of discourse and how to talk to people is a little bit different than other people. It's that if you meet me with respect online, even if that's easy or whatever, I'm always gonna meet you. Because why would I respond to that with trolling? You see what I'm saying? Because it's not funny. Trolling is funny when somebody's actually mad at you. You want to make them angrier. So for example, if somebody's really angry in my comments and they're posting a lot, I might say something like, hey, thanks for the engagement. And it's true, I am thanking them for engagement. That them continuously posting is good for my algorithm. Me devoting a lot of energy to it isn't, and that's why I've pretty much adopted the mentality, if you guys have noticed now, but when my videos come out, I read the comments for probably like the first day or two, and then I kind of just check out, honestly. And that's how I've like managed to control a lot of it. But if I'm also in a bad mood, or like I didn't train or something like that, what I'll do is I'll literally just pop open my comment sections, pull up the most controversial shit I literally can find on purpose, and then just go ham. That's literally therapeutic for me. I enjoy doing that. So anytime you ever see me shitting on someone in the comments, know that I'm literally enjoying doing that. It is something that I enjoy doing. So you can kill this nonsense that to shit on people you have to be mad about it. It's like, no, you actually could think it's funny when somebody comes and speaks utter nonsense and you want to point it out, you know? We need to bring back into fashion shaming people for being ignorant. Like, sorry, it just needs to happen. I love you too, buddy. Night Wolf. What do I think of Halo? Halo's my favorite franchise. A shooter franchise, to be specific. By far. In fact, I even, I'm gonna read you one line from the video. Halo is my favorite shooter franchise. It's not debatable for me. That's one line from the video. To give you an idea of why I put 11,000 words into it, and this thing's probably gonna be an hour, and Tom's probably gonna fucking try to strangle me, honestly. But, hopefully the check is nice, so he'll relax. But, yeah, I love Halo, man. I'm not going anywhere as a Halo fan. Meaning, if they don't give up on Halo and they keep trying, I will keep trying too. I'm an insider. I've been testing Halo since I could test Halo and playing it since I could play Halo, which was like fucking 7-8 years old. And I'll probably never stop playing Halo. I'll always give it a chance. But if it's 343 Studios, it has to be an apology tour for me at this point, guys. Like, I need to hear like actual taking accountability. We fucked up, here's how we fucked up, here's how we're gonna do it better. That's all I need. But in the past, people will give them so much leeway, dude. Like, I had some like 343 supporters, like, so if you guys saw that I did a community section post on Infinite, my biggest ever, by the way, like over 1,500 upvotes. I think even more than that, which is insane for me. Like, to tell you about how I project that stuff, when it's up to the thousands, it's a huge video. This is over 1,000, well over 1,000. So I had like, thousands of fucking comments of people telling me tons of fucking information about Halo Infinite, including developers. So I got the most information I've ever gotten about any game ever. On a game and franchise I know the most out of any other one. So like, oof, if you can see the excitement on my face, that's real, that's palpable. Like, this is a fucking monster. Like, I'll even pull it up like right now, like, And don't worry, I'm not gonna let you guys see everything. Just to give you an idea, like, look at this. 85 pages. At 15,000 words, 4,000 of those are research. But in total, 15,000 words. And mind you, maybe about 300 of them are quotes or 400 or whatever it is, but you get the idea. Like, it's... I think MMORPG Gal said it best. I think it is a magnum opus for us. And the best thing about this video in particular too is I'm not just like a super Halo fan. I played Halo Infinite. I got the highest rank in the game, and I did it really, really fucking easily. So like, skill, understanding of the game, and familiarity with it in a recent context, none of that are things that people can take away from me in the context of Halo. And I only mention that because people literally, they didn't say anything to me, but they spread this like nonsense on Reddit that they were saying that I wasn't actually a top 500 player, and actually wasn't, I never even played Overwatch 2. And it were like, it was like this utter nonsense. It's just like the mental gymnastics people will go through. If I never got top 500, how the hell did I win a LAN, dude? Okay? And I was in closed beta. I should have gotten top 500. Like, do you guys remember how fat or how long closed beta players got to play before everybody else? I was playing with Seagull. He was literally on my friends list. Like, wasn't that weird for us back then who were playing Ghost 2 Gamers to all be top 500? We were all the best players. We were playing it the most. We had a team, so on and so forth. So it's like, coming into this Halo video, I made a joke on my Discord where I was like, how many times should I say that I was the highest rank in the game? Because I noticed when I tell people that I was the highest rank in a game, it bothers them. And the truth is, it should never bother you at all. There's no single reason that me telling you that I'm the highest rank in a game should bother you. Because I mentioned it twice. And people complained endlessly. Dude, I must have gotten, I'm not even kidding guys, you guys won't even believe me, 50 comments about this. Like at least 50 comments of people talking about, oh, like, you had to brag about your rank, huh? You keep talking about your rank the whole video. It's like, bro, relax with your projection because you were stuck in whatever hard stuck elo you were stuck in. I didn't say you suck. And I didn't say you're not as good as me, bro. I just talked about what my skill level is so you understand where I'm coming from. So, on Halo Infinite, I haven't done the voiceover yet, but part of me is thinking, how many times should I say that I was Onyx in Halo? I kind of want to make it a meme, honestly, like a recurring meme. Because it seems to really bother people that they weren't the highest rank, but you're not making the video, and I didn't ask you to be, and I also didn't, like, criticize your skill level, so I don't know why you're telling me this stuff. Like, really weird. I would be excited as well for making a video on Halo. Halo is truly the best. Thanks for showing your videos are genuinely fun. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and also, the majority of the content, gameplay clips and so on and so forth in this video are going to be mine. That's the other thing that I wanted to be like, my unique stamp on this video is like, I don't want anything to like be taken away from it. I don't want anyone to be able to say anything negative about it. And I know that that always is a thing. Like, I'm not delusional, but I'm just saying like, that's really how I'm viewing it. Is like, I'm trying that fucking hard to make sure I can do everything as perfect as possible. It's conclusive. It has behind the scenes. It has all the information all tied up and explained. It has each departure of every developer broken down and why. It talks about each Halo game and their significance and how they did things as a company. It talks about Microsoft's handling of them. It talks about even some behind the scenes information that I was told actually way before this on another project about Microsoft and how they handled badged employees. And so I'm gonna tell you guys literally how they handle employees, how much they were getting paid, how much people were working on certain things, what certain things were introduced by certain people as much as I possibly can. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even trying to hype it. You can tell, like, this is all in this script. Like, it's, yeah, it's my best one. Ain't even close. So I'm excited about that. And also that this far into my career, I'm making my best video. Tells me that there's still so much for me to learn and do. Yeah, the Halo Infinite beta was pretty fun. In fact, I talked about that. The different part about the beta is that it felt more communal. So it was a different experience than whenever we launched it live. Everything felt so impersonal. And that was like the number one thing about Halo Infinite for me, is that there's no community to that game. There's no community feel to it. Nothing feels like you're a part of a community. Nothing feels even connected to anything. Everything feels so fucking robotic, including the visuals, including the sound, including the color of the game, including how it's monetized, including the menus suck and they look robotic. It's just things like that, like perception is such a big deal. And I think Halo Infinite was such a great example of how like people don't view the Halo franchise as being visually appealing. I think they're changing their tune. It should be. Halo should be pushing the edge on graphics, visuals, art styles, sound, music, all of it. Voice acting. It should be a leader in all of those aspects. That's the expectation. And if people want to sit there and cry, wow, what a high expectation. Bro, you got LeBron James on your team. What do you want me to do, 343 Studios? Get LeBron James off your team and I'll stop having that expectation of you guys. Trade LeBron James to fucking somebody else, okay? From software. The point is give it to somebody else and I'll stop complaining about you guys fucking it all up. See what I'm saying? But you have LeBron James, you've had him for like 10, 15 years, and you haven't gotten one fucking championship with them. Like, you've made the playoffs. Congratulations. We knew you were supposed to make the playoffs. Where are your championships? Where are your finals appearances? Where are your MVPs? They don't have shit to show for any of that. And I know like sometimes sports analogies can miss people because they don't care about sports as much. Like, but whatever sport you guys like, fucking Babe Ruth, like fucking, you know, who's the best, you know, football player? Like, JJ Watt. You know what I'm saying? Like, think of like great players in whatever sport. You have them on your team, bro. You can't win anything. That's the whole point. Is you got the best fucking talent right there. You had this. You could just open it and do whatever you wanted. And what they did is create a horrible TV series that has been pretty much universally hated, while Witcher and fucking what's the other TV series that got good reviews? There's one more that I'm blanking out on, but like, meanwhile, these other video game adaptation shows are doing much better. And so it's like, we're all thinking to ourselves like, Halo, why can't you do it? 343 Studios. It's not fucking rocket science. They've been working on it the entire time. They've had the same fucking leaders working on it pretty much the entire time. They all share the same fucking credits. And everyone wants to sit there and question, why does Halo keep not working? Well, it's not doing well now, but it definitely was whenever Halo came out. I mean, they literally lost the fucking Witcher. So, like, of course it's not doing well anymore, but... and I don't even know who the other actor is, by the way. Hey, Nerd Slayer, greetings from Italy. I love so much you've done with the game series. Your work is amazing, and as a 3D artist, I love hearing stories about productions. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's what they were talking about at the time, because whenever the article came out, people were like, how come the Halo series couldn't be like Witcher? They were talking about the first season. So yeah, I should probably clarify, but... because this came out back then. Thor's younger brother is the new Witcher. Oh god. I appreciate that, Adriano. Grazie. And also, hopefully I can keep doing that, you know? The Last of Us is the one. Yes, thank you. Thank god. Yeah, Cosmonaut's right. The Last of Us is the one. Where it was like, amazing, you know? And all of us Halo fans are just watching like this, like, so good. You know, like, we're like, we want to celebrate, but simultaneously we're like, dude, why can't Halo? Why can't we do anything with it? Like, we got Fortnited, we got PUBG'd, we got Apex. Apex literally lifted our movement, bro. Minus the sliding and shit that they got from fucking, you know, COD. It's like, there's games right now that are literally being successful off of Halo shit. And it's just like, you know, one thing I even realized, guys, like, you guys are gonna fucking laugh when you realize this too. What blew my mind about Halo Infinite and 343 Studios in general and their approach to Halo is that the more recent Call of Duties, the ones that are super fast-paced, like Vanguard and the one that just came out, a while ago. Those play more like Halo than fucking modern Halo does. That should put some shit into perspective for you, where it's like they're faster paced and they're also a lot more like in the maps, like, you know, fighting and stuff like that, like infighting. Meanwhile, when I'm playing Halo Infinite, it feels like I'm playing Call of Duty. Like, it's weird. Like, I noticed it when I was playing last week. I was like, because I played both. I was like, why does it feel like I'm playing Call of Duty, right? Like, that's what's missing is Halo. This does not feel like Halo. And I mean literally feeling. I talk about this in an entire section, so I won't go too heavily into it. But I think that the number one thing that's lacking in the gameplay of Halo Infinite is the actual feel. And it's interesting because it's tricked everybody enough, like enough people that they'll be like, oh, it feels like Halo. And it's like, actually, if you break it down, it doesn't. Like, that was my analysis, is that if you really break it down, it doesn't actually feel like Halo. Here's why. The number one important part about Halo 1, Halo 2, and Halo 3 is what? The physics engines, and how the engines functioned in those games is what makes the game so iconic. The ragdoll, getting exploded off fucking mountains and shit, flying around, doing crazy shit on your Warthog, sliding around on the ice in the first game, fucking jumping off cliffs, doing all these crazy glitches with the mechanics, rocket glitching, BXBing, BXRing, double shotting. I can keep going. Like, there's so many glitches, super jumps, mega super jumps. Like, there's so many glitches that involve in Halo, and like the engine itself is such a centerpiece that I realize that like with Halo Infinite, you don't get almost any of that. The game feels fucking sterile, bro. Like, it truly feels sterile. It feels weird, man. I just don't know how to explain. It feels like robotic. When you drive around in a fucking Warthog, everything is sliding around like you're on a go-kart. Like, let me see if I can find any of my footage that had me doing that, because it was just so shocking to me when I was experiencing it, because I was like, dude, I don't even feel like I'm playing Halo. Like, it was such a weird feeling, because it's like, why is my guy like with a giant vehicle sliding around like he's, you know, whatever example you want to say, but like, why am I sliding around like this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Let's see, trying to find my foot. Keep collection. Huh. Where did I? Well, I have it here somewhere. I gotta find it because I need to actually give it to Tom. But is it under Backfilm, Steam Apps? Halo Master Chief Collection. Okay. Dude, I need to find where the hell I put my footage, because no clue. But what I'll do is I'll find a footage of me playing Halo, the other Halo, and I'll show you the contrast. Alright. This is a great clip too. Look, this is a great clip to show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so here's me playing Halo 3 with my cousin. You cannot do this in Halo Infinite.
Nah, let's get the fuck out of here. The hog doesn't have the gas. Yeah, only the chopper can do it.
He's right. So I calculated. I said, all right, he's right. Because of the physics.
Shit.
I would have got up there in Halo Infinite, no problem. But I have to actually learn the physics and how to drive this thing. Let me check this thing.
You see that hog way down there?
Ooh, I was screaming right there because I was trying to hit a grind, a parallel like grind off of the fucking mountain, that I went and did it again. And literally, if you look at the game in Halo 3 right now, we're smashing them so badly that we're beating them by over 25 kills. Like we're beating them by 26 kills. And if you look at the leaderboard, my cousin and I are up there. So it's hilarious because we'll do stuff like this all the time where that's more fun to us than playing it just like normally or whatever. And that's why I love Halo so much, because that's what Halo means to me. Halo Infinite, I don't have clips like that because first off, my vehicle is sliding around like in some bizarre way, which doesn't even make any fucking sense physically. And also lends to very poor gameplay. It instantly stops. Like, you're like driving, it's like, like, it's like the weird, it's just Who came up with this shit? It wasn't a Halo fan, and it wasn't a Halo developer, because a Halo fan and a Halo developer would have been like, wait a minute, we can't half-ass the fucking ground movement and the momentum of vehicles and the momentum of characters, guys. That's the whole point of Halo. That's what makes it feel like you're playing Halo. You're fucking jumping around, you're like, choom, lifting this tank up off the fucking ground and shit, you know, like jumping on this fucking like Banshee, like fucking flying in the air and shit. Like, that's what Halo is. Infinite doesn't have shit like that. And if it does, they're very far and few between moments. So, sad. Exactly, Adriano. And I feel like you basically just said exactly what I showed on screen. Which is that what made Halo so cool was that it wasn't a competitive shooter first. It was a for everybody shooter first. Then it had aspects that were for competitive players. And they've been missing that. They keep trying to make competitive out the fucking box shooters. And part of the problem is, and by the way, nobody wants to admit this shit, is that they were taking advice from pro players behind the scenes. And I didn't even talk about that enough, honestly. I'm gonna change that. Let me add that to my list of things to add, but it's something people don't like to talk about, is that when you take pro players' perspectives like Overwatch did and Heroes of the Storm did, guess what happens to the rest of your game? It dies. Because you don't make your game just for that small percentage of players. You make your game like Overwatch's case for fucking millions of players. And then the little 1%, they're the ones that play the ranked. And they're the ones that play the fucking, you know, whatever tournaments and shit. 1 to 10%. Such a small, minuscule percentage. Therein lies the problem. You're making games for small percentages of people advised for you by those small percentages of people. You needed to bring in people that played everything in Halo. You needed to bring in people that understood Halo on a core level, the mechanics. People like Mintblitz, people like me. People who play and glitch in Halo and love all of the aspects of it outside of just the actual playing the Halo part. I feel like they need somebody like that on their team to literally sit there with the Unreal guy whenever they're gonna work on the next Halo and just say, hey bro, let's make this shit fun, man. Like, let me jump up in the air and fucking slide off this thing right here. And let's come up with something else over here movement-wise. And get back to making Halo the little movements of just being fucking fun. But, no. On that note, and very good music to end this too, great soundtrack. I'm gonna start playing this more often because it helped me flow better. You know, because I'm a music guy, so I need to play music. Yeah, so I'm really excited to do the Halo Infinite video, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. It's gonna be massive. Yeah, exactly, Adriana. That's the kind of stuff that I used to do all the time too. But on that note, I'm gonna head out. I've gotta go. I gotta go take care of my dogs, and I've also gotta go to the restroom. So as always, it wouldn't be a Nerd Slayer stream if I didn't have to go to the restroom to end the stream. But all right. Anyway, love you guys. See y'all later, and stay tuned for the Halo Infinite video.